Okay, so we'll start with functions. So functions are generally used to provide a modularity. So it will give a proper structure to your code. It will improve the readability, plus it will help you to fix the bugs in a better way. Okay. So how functions are generally used, we will write some functions. We will specify what is the input for this, and you will expect some output from this function. Okay. So how it works in debugging, so you will just check if I'm passing the correct input, if I'm getting correct output or not. If I'm getting the correct output from this particular part of code, let's say it contains 100 lines and it's showing me the correct output, then I can say, okay, there is no issue with this 100 lines. I can move on to the next for my debugging purpose. Okay. All right. So how to define a function in Python? Now we have two things. One is function call, and second is function definition. Okay, so let's take a basic example. Let's say print val function. Okay, and so this is a user defined function name. So this is a function name which I am giving. So I'm writing a user defined function name and this opening and closing parenthesis. Okay, so now this is called as a function call. So whenever you write a function call, Python will try to search for a function definition in the code above it. Okay. So now how to define a function definition? We will write def. Now this is a keyword to define a function. Okay. You need to specify the exact function name. Okay. So print val. Okay. And you need to specify quotes. Colon. So it specifies, okay, so there may be multiple lines inside this function. Now all the lines which you want to write will be inside this particular function. Okay, so for now I'm just writing this print okay. If I execute this, it will print me this particular line of code. So how it works? Python, it will execute your code from top to bottom, right? Now when it comes down to this line number 14, it cannot start execution directly. Okay. Now in order to execute your function definition, there has to be a function call. Okay. So unless and until there is a function call, I cannot see this output. Okay. So how it works, it will see, okay, this is a function definition. So it will ignore this. It will move on to the next line. Okay. Now it will see, okay, so there is a function call, that is print val. So it will start, so it will try searching for this particular function. It will found it here, and it will now execute all the statements which are inside this particular function. Okay. One thing you have to keep in mind, your function call should be always after your function definition. Okay. Let's say if I cut this and if I paste it here, and if I execute this, it will throw me an error. Why? Because it's the execution is top down. Now Python only knows the line till this. Python do not have any idea about code which is written after this function. So that's why whenever there is a function, it will always search for a method in the line above this particular. So you have to make sure that whenever you're writing a function call, it should be after your function definition. Okay. So let's say this time I want to pass some values. Okay. So I said that for function I'll be passing some inputs and this function will be giving me some output. Okay. Let's take an example. So this print val function, what it will do, I will pass 3 different integer numbers. Okay. And this function will give me the addition of this. Okay. So I'm commenting this print statement. Now what happens whenever you write print val and this value, so these values are passed to this function definition. Okay, but you have to accept these 3 values. Okay, so I'm accepting it as num1, num2, num3. Okay, and I want to do the addition. Okay, if you want to return any result from this function, we have a statement called return. Okay, So if you want to pass some input, you will specify that in this parenthesis. If you want some output from a function, you will specify a return statement. Now the answer I'm expecting is the addition of num1, num2 and num3. Okay, so I'm saying num1 plus num2 plus num3. Okay. Now whenever I write a return statement, it will calculate this answer and it will give answer to this particular function. So it will return back to this column. Okay. So you have to accept the result using this equal to operator. Okay. So it will give a call to this function. It will execute all the statement, and if there is a return statement, it will write this answer and it will store it in this particular result variable. Okay. Now here if I write print result, if I execute this, now it will give me 60. Okay. Now the same function you can reuse with different arguments. Okay. So this time I'm not writing anything in a result. I'm just writing directly print function. So I'm saying print val of 100, 200.
Sorry, Suchita will be here.
So this time I'm saying print val of 100, 200 and 300. Okay. So now the same function is working to perform the on a different set of inputs. Okay. So this is how I will pass some input. Okay. Now we have a different ways of passing input. Okay. So we will discuss it one by one. So this is one way. So I'll pass some input, and to get some output, I'll be using this return statement. Okay. And you have to accept your input in the result. Okay. Now if you go back to the methods which we have seen. Okay. Now here, let's say if I'm not writing this return statement. Okay. I'm just saying num1, num2, num3. So I'm saying sum is equal to num1, num2, num3. And now if I execute this, it will show me output as none. Okay. Reason, this function is not returning anything. Okay. So whenever you print, so whatever you are taking here is the return value of it. Okay. So that is the reason. All right. Okay. Now let's go back to some of the built-in functions which we have discussed. Okay. So let's say I have a list. Okay. I want to add a new element. I say something like this. Okay. So what this will do, it will add one element to the list, right? Now what is the exact, so this append is nothing but a built-in function. Somewhere in the backend, a function definition is written for this append also with the same logic. That is definition of append. It will take one value as an input, and now if you see, so this is actually modifying the original list. Okay. So if I add the same statement in a print, okay, I'll get output as none. Why? Because this function is directly adding a value to the list. It's not returning anything. So whenever you are printing, you are actually printing the return value of it. Okay. So the example of a function which returns a value. So we have seen this count function, right? Or let's take example of index function. So whenever I say print l dot index of 20, okay, it prints me y. Okay, while defining this index function, it is written as definition of index. It will iterate and it will return the index of that element. So as we have a return value, that's why it's printing me 1. If I do not have a return value, it generally returns me none. Okay. So clear general structure. So I will define a function name and I can pass some values to it. Okay. So whatever values I'm specifying, it will be sent to this function, and I need to accept this input values. Okay. Now to define a function definition, I need to use this keyword called def. Okay, and I need to write a logic inside this. Now, if you want a result from a function, we will generally use this return statement. Okay. So let's discuss different parameter crossing techniques. Okay. So first one is something called positional argument. Okay. So what is positional argument system? So positional argument system, you have to compulsorily pass the same number of arguments. So let's say I'm passing these three values. I need to write this 3 here. So in function definition, I'm writing 3 here. While passing the values, I also need to pass 3 different values. If I pass 2 values only in this case, that will throw me an error that print val missing one required positional argument, not 3. Okay. So why? Because you're expecting 3 values, but you are passing only 2. Okay. Now vice versa will also not work. So I'm saying 30, 40. So now if I execute this, now it will say print val takes 3 positional arguments, but 4 are given. Okay, so the number of parameters which you are writing here should be exactly same. Okay, right. So try this example. So I want to write a function called add list. Okay, I will pass a list to this, something like this. Okay, and it should return me the addition of all the elements inside this list. Okay, yeah. What should I write? So I want to write this function and this will give me some result. Okay. So let's accept it as a variable result and let me print this. Okay. Alright. So how to write a definition for this? I'll say def. This is a keyword. Function name add a list. And this should be as it is, right? Now here I'm passing the list. Okay. So I can accept it in any variable. Let's say L. Okay. So now if I print this L here, so this list is passed here. Okay. Don't worry about this none. So now I want addition of all the elements. So for that I need to iterate over all the elements. So initially I'm taking sum is equals to 0. I'm iterating for value in L. Now in each iteration I'll get one value, right? So here I'm just saying sum is equals to sum plus value. Now once this is done, so this sum will be my final result, right? So I'm saying return sum. So now if I execute, so it will give me the addition of this. Try this one. So we have solved this problem. It's just I want to convert it to the function now. So I was saying how to write, how to check if a number is a perfect number or not, right? So what is perfect number? What is perfect number? So I need to find out the divisor of this. If sum of all the divisors is equal to the number, then I can say this is a perfect number. So in case of 6, I can say the divisors are 1, 2 and 3. If I do the addition, I'll get answer as 6, right? Okay. So what I want a function. It will check if a function is a perfect number or not. If it's a perfect number, it should return me true as an answer. Otherwise, it should return me false. Okay. Try this. I
How are you now?
better. So I started with functions. Okay. So I just give you the overview. So for a function, we will be having two things. One is your function definition, and function call. Okay. So now what is function definition and function call? So I'm writing any function user defined function. Let's say this is a print one. Okay. So this is a user defined function. So I can pass multiple values as an input to this. So this is the example where I'm passing these three variables as an input, and it will return me the addition of these three variables. Okay. So how to define a function? Function definition. So we have a keyword called def. You need to write the exact function name, and you need to accept the parameters. Okay. So here I'm passing these three values. So that's why I'm accepting into three different variables. So num1, num2, num3. So how it will work? It will pass 10 to this num1, 20 to num2, 30 to num3. Now in this example, all I want addition of this, and it should be written to the caller, right? So for that we have a return statement. So it will calculate this, and it will return this result here, accepting into the variable. Okay. So we have a different ways of passing the values. So the first one, that is your positional argument system. So what a positional argument system is, if you are passing in function definition, if you are saying three values, your function definition should also have three values. So if I pass two values here, it will throw me an error that if I execute this, okay, it will say that missing one required positional argument num3. Okay, so you have to make sure that you are passing three values. Same way here, if I'm accepting only two values, I can only pass two. So this is the first one, right? So on the basis of that, we just solved one problem, that if I have a list, I want to answer as addition. So I'm giving a call to this add list function, and I'm passing this list as an argument, right? And this list I'm accepting as a variable L. I just iterating and calculate the sum. Once sum is calculated, I'm saying return the addition. Okay. So next problem you have to try is to check if the number is perfect number or not. Okay, if I pass a number, if it's a perfect number, it should return me true. Otherwise, it should return me false as an answer. Okay. So you will write a function name and the parameter you want to pass. So here you have to specify as a def and the function name and return statement. What is perfect number?
Perfect number is the divisors are equal to the number.
Or less?
No, if there, suppose 6 is there, so divide by 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3 is equal to 6. And it's equal to
Okay. Some of these.
yeah, some of them.
Thanks. Getting edits. So I'm writing this function called perfect number and I'm passing a number source. Okay. And I'm expecting the result true or false. Okay. So how to write a definition for this? I'll be saying def and perfect underscore number. Okay. So I need to accept it a one variable. Okay. So I'll say for value in range of I need to start it from 1 because if I try to start from 0 it will give me 0 division error, right? So I need to make sure I start it from 1. Okay, I don't want to divide it by, let's say, the number itself 6, it should go till 5, right? So I'll just check if, so I'm taking one variable called sum. Okay. So I'll just check if whatever value which I'm getting, if number is completely divisible by this value or not. So to ensure that I'm saying that okay, if num mod value equals 0, If yes, then I need to store sum. So I'll say sum is equals to sum plus value, right? So I'll be storing incrementing the value of sum only if it's a divisible number. Okay. Once this is calculated, I will check if num equals sum. If yes, I am saying return true. Else return false. Alright. Let me print the result. So this time it's giving me answer as true. 16 false. Okay. So I'm writing a function name, passing one value, writing a function definition, accepting that number, right? Okay. Remember linear search? Okay. So you have to write a function called linear search. Now you will pass two values this time. Okay. This is one list, and second attribute is key, which you are looking for. Okay. You will write a function. Again, same thing. If element exists, you will stop there and you will return true. Otherwise, you will return false. Try this. Everyone knows, right, what is the logic of linear search? So I need to compare this key with every element. So I need to iterate over this. I will check if 10 is equal to 50 or not. No, then continue. 20 equal to 50 or not. No, continue. 30 equal to 50 or not. 40, no. If 50, yes, then return me true. Tell me. Mhm.
Yes, linear search.
Linear underscore search.
L comma number.
Let's say
L comma
comma key. Okay.
for value in L.
For value in L.
If value equal to number, not key.
If value equals key.
Return true. Else
Here only. Else.
else return false.
Right. Okay. I think this is correct. Alright. Let's give it a try. Segment. Okay, so I'm passing key as 50. Key present. Answer should be true. This is returning false. Okay, this will only work in this condition.
You have to add in continue the else. For else condition, you can add continue.
And where should I write false? I cannot write continue as written, so I can see something like this. Okay, but now this will not work if I pass something like this. How about if I write the else here? Can anyone tell me why I'm writing here? Okay, so now this is giving me false. 20 true. Okay, 40 true. Okay, anyone? Why I'm writing it here? So this is my optional else block for a for loop. Okay, when it will execute. So if your loop completes without execution of break or a continue statement, right? A break or a return statement. Okay, it will go to this particular else block. Okay, so let's take example. You are saying 400, right? Now it will compare 400 with 10. No, so it will not go to this if block. Move to the next iteration. 20. No, move to the next. Move to the next. Move to the next. Now this is the end of the list, right? So once a loop completes without any return or something, it will go to the else block, right? Now, so this else block I can use to make sure that if element does not exist, at that point only it will go to this else block. Now, if you say 40, it will no, 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 yes, okay, so element found, it will go inside and it will give me return. So what exactly happens whenever you write a return statement, it will directly jump from this function and it will come here. Okay, so that is the reason in that case your else block will not get executed. Okay, so in this way you can make use of this else block. Okay, alright. I'm giving you a hint, and based on that, try this example. So let's say I want the numbers from 1 to 100. Which function I will use?
Range.
Okay, so I can say range of 1 to 100. Okay, but now let's say I want a range from A to M. I want all small letters from A, comma B, comma C till M. Okay, we do not have any built-in function for this. Okay, so you have to write that function that let's call it as a character range. Okay, I will pass two character. Let's say this is the start and this is the end. Okay, now it should print me all the letters starting from A to M. Okay, for a hint you can use these two functions. We have something called ORD. Okay, if I say ORD of A, this gives me 97. Okay, and if I say print CHR of 97, this gives me A. Okay, if I do that here, this will give me 122. If I say 122 of character, this will give me 7. Okay, so for a hint, so you need to use your range function, you need to use your character function. Okay, so it should be a list. So whenever I print the output of this, it should give me a list of all characters starting from this A to. Oh, yes. Yes. And what's the logic? How I can do it? So I cannot generate alphabetical range, right? But I can generate integer range. But if I have a range of alphabets, I can convert it to characters. Okay. So ultimately, what I want a numeric range. Okay. But starting from this to this. Okay. So what should be the start of this numeric range? So for that, I can use this ORD function, right? So if I pass ORD of this A, so this will give me 97. Okay. If I say ORD of M, this will give me some number, right? Let's say it can be 115 or something. So now what I want to generate a numbers starting from 97 to 155. I can generate this using range, right? So range of I can generate 97 to 105. Now if it's in for loop, so in each iteration, it will give me one number. So let's say in the first iteration, it will give me 97. In the second iteration, I'll get 99, uh, 97, 98, 99, 100 and so on. But I'm not interested in integer value. I want character value for this. So for that, we have a function called character. So I'll say chr of this. So this will give me the character value, but I want the list. So which function I should use? I want to add all this thing into a list. Okay, let's try this. I'm saying def of character underscore range. Let's specify it as start and the end. Okay, so I want to follow for value in range. I want range of ORD of this start, comma, ORD of this end plus 1 because end is not inclusive, right? Now in each iteration I'll get one element. So from that I want character value. I'm taking one list. Let's say L is equals to this is blank at the moment, and here I'm just saying L dot append of chr of value. Once I get the list, I'll say return this with this. Okay. Now next time if I need a range from A to Z, I can reuse the same function. I'll just change the range. Let's say now this time I want, let's say D to this. Okay, so this is the first one, and it's starting from D to Z. Okay, so understood the structure. So I will be writing a function name. I will be passing some input values. So I'm accepting into two separate variables. Now to define it, I'll be using this def keyword. I need to make sure colon and the indentation, right? If I want some result, I can use this return statement, right? So this is the first argument passing technique, that is positional argument system, right? So in positional arguments, the number of arguments in your function definition and your function call should be same, right? Right. Come back to this addition example. So if I pass three values, I need a addition of all these elements, right? Do we have that thing? Okay, here. So here I'm passing this three values. This is returning the addition of this three values, right? Now I want this function should work even if I pass two values. Now in default argument this will not work, right? So it will say that you need to compulsorily pass the third argument also. Okay. Now we have something called default argument system. So what is default arguments? I can set a default value. Now it will be only valid if you do not pass the value. So here I'm saying 10 comma 20. Okay, and before actually printing the result, let's print this num1 comma num2 comma num3. Right. Okay, so now it's passing 10 20, and for the third argument it will pass 0. Okay, now how about if I pass the third argument also? So now it will not consider the 0 as the third argument, it will consider the value which you have passed. Okay, so it's not mandatory that you have to only always specify the last one. I can say something like this. So now even if I give a call to this print val with no values at all, okay, so here I'm not passing anything. So now it will take all these three values 0, 0, 0 and give me answer as 0. Only one important concept here. If I say something like this, okay, so it says non-default argument follows the default argument. Okay, so whenever you are specifying a default argument, there should not be any argument which is non-default. Okay, so if I'm saying something like this, okay, so I can specify default value for all of them, that is fine. I can specify this for this one and for this one, that is also fine. Okay, out of it, out here. Okay, but I cannot do something like this, that write a non-positional argument followed by a default argument and then write a non-default again. It will throw me an error that non-default argument follows the default. Okay, now how about I want to write a function. It will perform the addition of n numbers. Here I'm saying three numbers. Okay. Here I can do addition of three numbers only, right? I want to write a function which will work for n numbers. So if I pass 0 numbers, it should give me the addition. 2 numbers, it should work. 3 numbers, 10 numbers, 50 numbers, whatever I will pass, it should take it and it should perform the addition of it, right? So in this case, if I specify, so I can till 3 I can restrict that, set a default value. So even if I don't pass the value, it will work, right? But this cannot work if I pass 4 values or 5 values, right? So this will make sure that there can be maximum 3 values. Okay. Now I want to make sure that even if I pass input something like this should work. Okay. So what we can do, so replace everything with something called args. Okay. So now don't worry about addition. Let's see what happens if I pass everything with args. Okay. So this is my function call, and result will be none. Yes. But this time you can see this all values are getting passed. What is the data type of this ARGS? Yeah. In which brackets it is enclosed? Okay. So the concept is you can specify variable length arguments. Okay. So whenever you pass a variable length argument, in function definition you will write star args. Okay. Now it's not mandatory to write this args method. This star is important. Okay. So here instead of this args, now I'm writing L. Okay. Still it will work. Okay. So the concept, so the star is important. Okay. So whenever I pass the values using this star, all the values will be passed as a tuple to this function. Okay. Now I want sum of all the values again. Okay. So what should I write? So in this case, I cannot directly write return num1 plus num2 plus num3 because I don't know how many elements will be there, right? So in that case, I'm writing a for loop because this is a tuple, right? So I'm saying for value in ARGS, I need one some variable. Okay. So here I'm just saying again, sum is equals to sum plus value, and once this is done, return me this. Save this. So now I will print sum of n numbers. So this is one function call which takes 3, 4, 5 arguments. This takes 1. So now I can pass n number of arguments and this will do the addition. Okay. So this parameter technique is called as a variable length parameters. Okay. So first we have discussed positional, then default, and third is variable length. Okay. Try this one first. Speed is too high. I think it's on one only, but the fan speed is too much. Thanks. No one joined on that, right?
So, what is recording?
So clear variable length arguments. We have something called packing and unpacking. Let's say I have a list now which contains just three values: 10, 20, 30. Okay. Uh, let's say I'm writing a function called print val again. Okay. Now this function actually takes three values, right? So the first variation we have seen that I can make it a variable and parameter, but now let's say this is fixed. Okay. Now I want to pass this three values to this particular print val function. Okay. But these values are in the format of a list, right? So this function does nothing, it just prints all these values. Let's say num1, num2, num3. Okay. Alright. Now let's give a call to this function, particular right, so print val of. Now if I pass this L, right, it will throw me an error. Why? Because now it will consider the positional argument. Now it will say you need to pass two more arguments here. We are passing one, okay? But what my requirement is, I have three values, but three values are present in this list, okay? So what I want to unpack the values from this list and pass it to this function, okay? So vice versa, I can just put a star here. Okay, so this is called as your unpacking. So I have three values, but these values are in list. Okay, I don't want to pass a list entirely. I want the values which are present in this list. Okay, I can use the star L and I can pass all these values. Okay, so this is called as unpacking. If I try passing four values here, it will throw me an error. Why? Because it will unpack it and it will normally pass it as your normal argument. So it will unpack this from a list and directly pass 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, so you do not have to write a separate step for this. So if you want to do it with instead of star L, you can say it as L of 0, L of 1, L of 2, right? So that will also work. But better approach, I'll just specify star L. So it will unpack it from a list and pass it to this function. Let's try the same thing with the dictionary. Okay. So I have a dictionary which contains three values. So number, let's say 100, comma, num2 is 200, and we have something called num3 which is equals to 300. Okay, I'm saying print val. Uh, okay. And now let's try passing star d. Okay, what is it printing?
What is the case?
So if I use star in case of my dictionaries, it will pass dictionaries. Okay, it will pass only the keys. Now my intention is I have three values which are present in the format of a dictionary. I want to unpack a dictionary and pass it to this particular function. Okay, so for that we have to use this double star.
Hello?
Yeah, Nirmala.
It's a little network problem, or I don't know what's happening. Not able to hear.
Uh, which part I need to repeat?
Yeah, I'm able to see the monitor.
So you're not able
Sometimes
to see the
your
screen?
voice is.
You're not able to see the screen?
I'm able to see this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm able to see the screen, but your voice sometimes.
Oh, okay, okay. Alright. Okay, so here my intention is I have three values present in a dictionary. Now, in the same way, I want to pass it to this particular function. Okay, now this function strictly accept three values, right? So this thing I can pass using so unpacking this particular dictionary. Now, if I just use a single star and if I execute this, it will pass only the keys. Okay, but now if I want to pass the values, I can use double star. Okay, keep in mind I am doing this because I want to pass the values directly. Okay, if I want to pass the entire dictionary, I can only write only D and I'll get entire dictionary. Okay, but my use case is different, that I just want to use values which I have in a dictionary. Okay. So next parameter passing technique we have is something called keyword argument. Okay. So okay, we discussed packing and packing also, right? Okay, so for this unpacking we have seen. So this is the first one. This keywords. So far we have seen whatever arguments we are passing, it is mapping it one to one, right? So the first argument is getting mapped to the first argument of a function call, right? But let's say now I don't want in a same order, okay? So let's say again write a function called print val, right? I'm passing this time something called username UBC, comma, password. Okay, right. Now to write a definition, I'm saying print underscore call. Okay. Here I'm saying username, comma, password. Now if I print let's see username and password. Okay, so this is one function call. Now next time I'm give a call, and instead of specifying the username first, I'm passing the password first. Okay, so now let's see the output of it should be equal to. Okay. So now if you see here, I'm specifying the first argument I'll accept as a username, and second I'm accepting as a password. Okay. Now in previous examples we were directly passing ABC and 123 only, right? So it will defaultly map in that case that ABC to the username and 123 to the password. Okay. Now here I can explicitly specify that I want to pass username as a ABC and password equal to 123. Now here I'm saying password is equal to 789 and username is equal to RST. So in that case, now your position will not matter where you are writing, okay? Because for this particular parameter, you are explicitly specifying value is equals to ABC. Okay. Now even if it appears in a second, it will map the same value with a username only. Okay, but you have to make sure whatever keywords you are using here in a function definition, you have to use the same keywords here. Okay, because you are directly mapping this particular keyword with this value. Okay, so this is the keyword and this is the value. Okay, so because of this, now your order does not matter, you are explicitly specifying each parameter. Okay, so this is called as keyword arguments, right? Now we have seen variable length arguments, right? So that is for your positional arguments. So here we have something called variable length keyword argument also. Okay, so what I'm doing, instead of writing this, I'm saying something called star star ARGS. Okay, now let's have a look and let's see what is the data type of this keyword argument. Okay, now if I print this, it is passing something like this. What is this? Okay, so we have seen in case of variable and positional arguments, when I say star args, it is passing it as which data type? Tuple. But when I say a keyword arguments, a variable length, it will pass it as a dictionary. Okay, now if I want to access the value, I need, so this is my dictionary keyword arguments, right? And I can say of username. If I print it, this will only give me the username. Okay, so now this is a dictionary. We can access it using keys and the values. If I say password, so now it will be available to you. Okay. So very well, let's start. So we are seeing keywords, and next thing is your variable length keyword arguments. Right. Okay. Uh, so guys, this link will expire, so I'm sending you the new link. Please join that. Okay.